Headphones on, let's do this.
Hey, do you know of a podcast I could listen to that has nerd and comic books and stuff? I really can't find one.
I say, you ever heard of the Nerd Dumb Podcast?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nerd Dome Podcast, episode 269. I'm your podcast without fear, Luke, and today I am joined with that uncanny guy.
Hi.
That's him.
Yeah.
And
what the surviving half of the co-founders of Validity Studios. I have absorbed Andrew. Cellular mitosis. Or absorption. Mitosis is splitting. Yes.
So it wasn't like the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance.
Yeah, it was a fusion. Yeah, it was the fusion dance, and yeah, so alliterative and uncanny, or not uncanny. You're the uncanny guy. Classic at the same time, and we've become Crystal Pepsi.
So there's your next blank cover to draw.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And Andrew doing that, and then what amalgamation you guys would turn out to be.
Oh, that'd be rad. Yeah, Andrew loves nothing more than adding ourselves to the comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd
wear it on a T-shirt to make him uncomfortable in public. So
certainly, yeah. Anytime you see him,
if you do,
is Andrew going to be there? I'm going to wear the shirt.
It's just his face.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
He would hate it.
Like a corner box. Like an old X-Men corner box with just our heads and just like us, all of us. That would be great for that would be great. This sounds like a commission. Like we should get someone good to do this. Someone who can do likenesses. I'm not great at likenesses. That's always the sweating when we're at the con and somebody's like, "Can you draw me?" And it was like, "No, it'll be insulting."
You're like, see, and then I guess you could take it the opposite way and just go caricature.
It's true.
And just go crazy on it. You know, point out everyone's insecurities immediately with your drawings.
I read that if you want to know which of your prominent features, go get a caricature, because they will show you. It's like, oh God, my cheekbones look like that. You know, is this how everybody sees me? There's a local guy named Rufus Man who shows up. He was at signing at Black Cats for the fundraisers that we were doing, and he's really great at caricatures. I bet you his would be super awesome.
And definitely ego boosting.
Yes, yeah, that would be the thing.
I guarantee you there's a whole subreddit somewhere of people that just get terrible caricatures and they just toss it up there.
That's a good idea. That sounds like a fun one. Should check that out. If it's not started, we should start it.
Yeah, we definitely. But you have to do literally all of the art. Yeah. So Chris, you sent something over before we were starting about some variant covers that are pretty amazing.
Yes, it is and I'm not sure, is it an anniversary or something for Thing coming up here really soon? I don't know if he's just getting a spotlight or if he's getting a if it's some sort of like anniversary or something like that, but Marvel is spending all of November. They are going to be putting a variant cover on each of the books that are coming out, honoring the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing, everyone's favorite member of the Fantastic Four, who's named the Thing after Mr. Fantastic named himself Mr. Fantastic. I'm Mr. Fantastic. You're the Thing. Yes. And
so maybe it's because Fantastic Four #1 came out in November of 1961, so maybe it's the November thing.
There you go. I don't know. It's yeah, for whatever reason, they're super cool. They're doing a so if you're a super fan of Thing. He's going to be on Avengers, Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America, Uncanny X-Men, Daredevil, Phoenix, Spider-Gwen, Wolverine, Dazzler, Iron Man, Spider-Boy, and of course Fantastic Four. You guys got a chance to kind of peruse these ones. Which one caught your eye?
Go ahead, Ryan.
The Thingeonix. You can't say it.
The
Very well.
Thingeonix. The
Thingeonix.
Thingeonix. Listen, when we spell it out as the title, it'll make total sense.
Thingeonix.
It's so lost
that
on
was
me now.
awesome.
Which one are you talking about? Oh, the Phoenix. Okay, yeah, that's right. I was like, I'm having a stroke. I don't know any of the words that you're talking about right now.
Like, I'm getting thing. I've got that.
Yes.
I've got thing.
Yes.
And then like as we discussed too, the Nightcrawler one is really neat too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The-
The
Oh, go ahead.
the Nightcrawler one from Uncanny X-Men #5. It kind of looks like he's got all the little bamf, like thing bamfs around him,
Mhm.
but it almost like it's just me looking at it. It almost looks like when he bamfs, since he's made of rocks, he just kind of explodes and then materializes, and the rocks all coalesce back together. And now I would love to see that in a movie.
Mm.
Oh, that's
Or
fun.
just a mutant that does that
Mhm.
vamps by exploding and it's all the juicy pieces flying everywhere and then it back
Yeah.
together. That would be great too.
The Spider-Gwen was done by Todd Knock, who's
Mhm.
great artist, super nice guy. That one's a super cool one to see. But I was gonna say, oh gosh, I completely lost my train of thought of which one I was gonna say here. Boy, that sucks.
Thingeonix completely derailed your brain.
Totally did. No, these are super cool. I kind of like the Spider-Boy one too. Even the watercolor effect to it is pretty nice. And like we were talking beforehand, you were saying don't really chase down variants for a lot of stuff, but I'll grab it if it's one of the options on the
If
stand,
it's there.
right?
Yeah.
Don't go crazy trying to find like the 101s and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Oh,
Mhm.
that's what you were reminding me of. I was wondering if it has been too long for anyone to reference the old Thing cartoon show, because he had a solo cartoon where it was a kid who wore a ring, and he would say, "Ring, do your thing," and then all these orange rocks would fly off from out of screen and then clomb onto him, and then that was the thing.
The Thing animated series. Yeah.
Yeah,
When was this?
That's what I was saying.
Runtime 11 minutes.
Yeah,
Picnic Panic. Bigfoot meets the Thing. Junkyard hijinks. Gone Away Gulch from 1979.
Wow.
NBC.
Yep, had him
NBC,
without
wow.
the Fantastic Four, just by himself. Teenager that transformed, trying to do
Looks
like
like
the Hulk formula.
Shaggy.
He does look
He
like
almost looks like Shaggy. They were just like, what's a cartoon? Scooby-Doo. Let's do that. Sure.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Hanna-Barbera. They had one model sheet, you know what I
Mm.
mean, for like 200 different shows. They would sit there once they figured out recycling made it that much cheaper. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I think it's been too long to reference the show. It would have been fun to see somebody with a Thing ring on.
What did you think about the Dazzler one, Ryan?
I really like that because it's the disco ball and it's like, the thing, the pieces of the thing, but they're like the disco ball mirror pieces. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. The Daredevil one, he kind of looks like Etrigan. That was the first thing that I thought of, but like more red. But yeah, that's the very first thing I was like, wow, it kind of looks like Etrigan.
Like a Hellboy, but yeah, Etrigan is
maybe
is better.
Those fused together.
Yeah.
I like it. The She-Hulk one, like I said, I think that's the most on brand. It's a Fantastic Four cover. She literally fills in when the Thing decides, something happens and he's quitting the team or he becomes human. They're like, well, the team really doesn't work unless we have a punch person. Jen, you're Fantastic 4.5, so come on, substitute Fantastic Four members. So that was awesome. That was one of the things that I liked. I might have talked about it before with the new um Fantastic Four. It was like, it was like, it wasn't the newest run, it was a run previous, was when they were coming back from Secret Wars after when they canceled the Fantastic Four comic for the first time ever at Marvel. Then they came back, and it's when Franklin was like rebuilding universes and stuff. But they got stuck on a planet, and something happened, and they were fighting, and they said, you can only bring your family. And so he brought every single person that had ever been in the Fantastic Four. So like Spider-Man was there, and She-Hulk was there, and they were like, what are we doing here? And then they see Reed, and they're like, oh, okay, what do we got to do? Like, we obviously, if you brought us here, obviously we don't have time for you to give us the whole spiel. So we'll just start punching things. So that was awesome. Yeah, the Wolverine one's really cool too, because he's very like, it's like sharp rocks. The Weapon X style, and even the claws look like bone claws out of a giant rock person. I do like that one. But yeah. So you guys know I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. The Dragon Ball Daima, the new anime that's coming out. I believe it's less than a month now from the premiere date, but it's the last thing that Toriyama did before he passed away. It was the last thing he was involved in. But we actually got where in the Dragon Ball timeline this show takes place, because they get turned into like mini chibi versions of themselves. And it's not all of them, it's just some of them, it appears. But so you get like Kid Goku and Kid Vegeta and Kid Piccolo, but they don't show like Gohan. But I'm like, okay, does everyone age down and those people just cease to exist, or something? But apparently it takes place because you have the original Dragon Ball series, and then Dragon Ball Z, and then it jumps to, there was Dragon Ball GT, but it's kind of been made irrelevant with Dragon Ball Super. Just because GT was not well received. Toriyama wasn't involved with it. And he was not happy with it. And then it was kind of a down cycle for Dragon Ball, because we had GT, which isn't bad, but it's not good. And then we had the Dragon Ball Evolution movie. And that brought Toriyama back to doing Dragon Ball, because he's like, listen, this can't be my legacy. So then he came back and did Dragon Ball Super. So Daima takes place between the end of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. So they kind of have a little bit of leeway in what they're doing, and they're made small, and they go to like a different realm. So it's like, it made me think of like a DC Elseworlds story. Like, yeah, this happened, but it's really not going to affect anything because it happened over in its own little thing. But I'm excited for it. The animation looks great. And since they're over in a whole new universe, it's the demon realm. So they've had like a couple characters in Z and in Super from the demon realm pop up, and they're usually like pink skinned, pointy ears type characters. But the whole thing takes place in the demon realm, so they don't have to worry about, what Krillin's doing, because if he's not there, it doesn't matter. This is a very focused, and apparently it's supposed to be, I believe they said, 4 seasons. And one thing I might have talked about on here before, that they are usually, the problem with animes being made from manga is, the anime catches up way too quick. And then the manga's like, guys, we're not done yet. And then you kind of start to get like filler episodes, or you get kind of some rushed animation in the show. Daima apparently already said, because they started working on it during COVID. So they've had 4 years of, they already have the first season completely done, ready to go, ready to push out the door. Which is just like, normally that's kind of how you think an animated show would go, but with manga being more of a, it's a monthly release of a new chapter. They kind of have to, keep up that work process. But so seeing this one that is already done and they're working on the next one while the first one's coming out, so we won't get any like weird 4-month delays between episode 10 and 11 because they have to get caught up. So yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I haven't seen any English dub trailers of it. But I did hear that the original voice actress who did the English dub for Goku and Gohan in Dragon Ball Z is going to come back to do the voice of young Goku in this, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm interested to see the English trailer on it because I'm still trying to figure out what's going on because there's not even the trailers I've seen. It's just music playing and they're like talking, but they're not even speaking in Japanese and there's no subtitles. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but they're small and they're over here and they're fighting. And he turned into a Super Saiyan. Cool. Yeah, so I'm excited for it. That is one thing I am pumped for.
Cool. Since you mentioned you were mentioning anime here, I was taking just a quick look at upcoming anime releases, and Uzumaki is going to be making its streaming debut later this month, September 28th. It's going to be on Max. And it is those who are unfamiliar, it is a famous horror manga, and it is
the spiral.
Yeah, it's a
I love
crazy because it's a horror thing, but there's not a monster. There's a shape that starts infecting the town, and it's this small town in Japan, and it is such a Japanese story. It's really good, but it is so Japanese, and so I absolutely love it. And so that one's going to be super cool. But I didn't know this. They're actually coming out with a new Ranma 1/2 series.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So it's supposed to be on Netflix on October 6th, where they're going to have new episodes released weekly. So that sounds pretty cool too. I love Ranma 1/2. It's I love Rumiko Takahashi. That big eye, small mouth anime is like my favorite kind. But I did try to show the old series to my kids, and they were bored out of their mind because it is not very, fast at the beginning. And also they were weirded out because of the gender issues in it. You know what I mean? Because it is like, on one hand, it is fairly forward thinking. You know what I mean? It's a character who changes from being a boy to being a girl. When hot or cold water is splashed on him. It's a whole thing. It's like the premise of the whole show, if you want to check it out. But the way that they kind of treat the main character when they are a girl weirded my kids out, and they were kind of like, I don't know if I really, and they hit you with that in the first episode, treating it as just a gag, you know what I mean? And so there's a whole bunch of that sort of stuff. It's revisiting things from your past when you're like, oh, hang on, we need to have a discussion about what was going on at this time, how this is different from what it would be now, and like how you want to think about it. And they didn't want that. They're just like, can we just watch Jujutsu Kaisen? You know what I mean? Like, we'll just go with this. And so it's like, yes, or Demon Hunter. You know what I mean? Like, we will Demon Slayer. I call it Demon Hunter every time, but Demon Slayer. And so it was like, yeah, we can just do that. But maybe
Slayer's
this one
so
gets
good.
into it. Yes. And we're caught up with that. And so my wife's like, hey, when are the new ones coming out? And we're like, maybe in 2 years, they got to animate it,
We'll see.
Yeah.
Ryan, I feel like I might have told you about this anime before, the Go-Go Loser Ranger.
I think so. I
Okay,
feel like we talked about it before.
This is the plot of it. It says 13 years ago, the villainous army of evil attempted to invade Earth, faced by the Super Sentai Squadron, also known as Divine Dragon Rangers, also known as the Dragon Keepers, and their super weapons. The evil army, however, was defeated within a year, and all of its leaders were wiped out. And the surviving foot soldiers have been forced ever since to reenact their defeat to the Keepers in front of the crowd of spectators every Sunday. Tired of this charade and realizing the amount that this amounts to little more than slavery, one of the foot soldiers rebels and decides he will defeat the Dragon Keepers by infiltrating their organization. So just like imagine if like the Power Rangers defeated the putties, but then they kept like 6 putties to just every Sunday morning beat the shit out of because they won't die for everybody's entertainment. And like even the costumes and stuff are very Power Rangers, but like if you remove the bottom part so you can actually see their mouths, kind of like Speed Racer. But yeah, it's like even the colors. They have a green one, a yellow one, a red one, a blue one, a pink one.
Yeah.
Definitely definitely what that is. And I have not watched any of it yet, but I really want to because I was like, I love that premise. I love that premise.
It was Go-Go Loser
Go
Ranger. Yeah.
go Loser Ranger. Yep. Yeah, it looks awesome. Hey, Ryan, I have a Star Trek question for you.
Yes.
Are you prepared? Okay.
I am ready.
All right. What are your top 3 enterprises?
Top 3. Well, you know my number 1
Mm-hmm.
because you know me. So my number 1 is the one from the All Good Things, where they're in the future.
With the 3 warp nacelles.
And it has the 3 warp nacelles, and it's the like the battleship refit has the 3 warp nacelles and like the phaser cannon underneath the saucer section. I love that one. And Captain Riker. Admiral Riker? Admiral Riker.
Yeah.
Is on that one. I've always loved that ship. And then I guess the next one. I love the Enterprise E. That's
the one from First Contact, and
yeah, I do love that ship.
Okay.
And then
dun, dun, dun. He's thinking hard.
I am thinking hard. I kind of want to say, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to know your question. I'll give you more time to think.
No, I was just saying, are you thinking more movies? Or are you thinking more of the TV shows?
I was thinking kind of movies for the next one, and I'm feeling kind of the Enterprise A because I love those movies, and that was like the longest run of the movies, and there were so many really good battle scenes that I remember in my head, like that I really love about the story of and that one, because there's such cinematic and really good battle scenes, especially in like the Wrath of Khan.
Right.
You get to see that ship, like, as I love battle damage stuff, and you get to see that ship like torn up.
And then blow up.
Yeah.
Well, not the A, but they look the same.
Yeah.
They were just like, put an A on it.
Yeah.
For me, I think my number 1 is the one from Next Generation, just the standard
the D.
Enterprise D. Yeah, that
you
one
like
is
the D.
great. Big fan of the D. Huge fan. The Enterprise A is actually my excuse me, my second one. And then Jesus. The original Enterprise from the TV show.
Like TOS Enterprise?
with the radar dish on the front.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So that's number
Mhm.
3 to me. And it's making me think of this conversation that we had on the show long time ago
Mhm.
when we were talking about my theory about the like the uniforms, like the brightly
Mhm.
colored uniforms versus the dark uniforms. And
Mhm.
Chris, this is kind of what we were talking about. I was reading a book version, or the novelization of the First Contact, Star Trek First Contact, and he's on this big brand new Enterprise, but it's very, like, everything is very dark, and it's a warship. It looks more like
Mhm.
a warship than an exploration ship. And Captain Picard says, he's like, this isn't, we're not supposed to be the military. We're supposed to be science explorers. I miss this. And then I started making kind of like correlations every time that they're not involved in some war with the Borg or the Dominion or the Klingons. Their uniforms are very bright.
Yeah.
They're very bright, and they're doing a lot of exploring and stuff, which I to me makes sense, because if you're meeting somebody for the first time, a new civilization, a new planet, you don't want to show up in your black leather with like dark red lights shining on you, and you're like, "Yeah, we come in peace." And they're like, "Oh, okay, you look like murderers." Um, but so that was kind of my thought behind that, part of the reason. And then just another thing that rolled through my head is that during like wartime, like times of war, they don't have time to sit and make like very special uniforms. They just pump out jumpsuits as quick as they can to get to as many people out there, because they're like, listen. And that's why it's only the undershirt that's different in a lot of the movies, because they're kind of in a state of war. So it
Mhm.
always made me think like that. But wrapping that back to what I wanted to ask you, Ryan, I sent
Mhm.
a story from Star Trek number 500. It's called The Final Masterpiece, and this is Lore, Data's evil brother, creating a universe that is in his image. So he makes an Enterprise, and it's a very warship Enterprise, but it also looks like the uniforms are black
Oh,
and gray,
they're
very
gray.
militaristic. So it kind of worked into my theory that I had before, and I want to know what you thought.
And then Captain Picard just cut off his collar. Like everybody else has a collar except Captain Picard.
Yeah, because he's got that neck. I mean, yeah, he's got to show off that neck. Do you think Patrick Stewart is going to get tired of just uh pictures drawn of him sitting down between
With the
between
Professor X
Picard and
mode.
Professor X? He's like, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Um,
I have legs.
think of the uniforms, or
Well,
and
like I want your take on the ship and the uniforms,
yeah.
and just kind of on my general theory that I have.
No, I think that's
That's my
I think
brain
that's a
cannon,
really
I
good theory.
guess.
I think that's really good. I like that theory. Uh, so interesting. So I finished Prodigy recently. It took me way longer than I wanted to because I don't have time. But chick, and I never really. I need to like. I couldn't figure out why his uniform was different. Chakotay, his uniform is super different. Chakotay's uniform is like black, and everybody else's
Okay.
uniform is like the classic colors. Chakotay's black. But I never quite figured out why that was, but it was it's interesting because it definitely gave me like the more militaristic feel.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you mention it, it makes sense to me why I was thinking that. Because that is kind of how they are always portrayed. And I kind of never, I subconsciously, I must have been putting that together. There's like no color on these uniforms. So that's interesting how they have, because they're like in usually all of Star Trek history, they have some type of
at least
coloring to
some,
distinguish the departments. There's like none in this comic book image here. It's interesting that like, because they guess, let's see, Counselor Troy's and Dr. Crusher would both be blue. So they're like a lighter gray. So I was like, why are the ladies both in the like a lighter gray? But I guess maybe that's just because they both be blue. But like Worf should be yellow, but his is the same shade of gray as Riker and Picard's. So
it's like they just have two grays. Darker gray and slightly lighter gray.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So what do you think of the Enterprise in
ship's
that?
Ridiculous. It's like got knives on it.
Because it's gonna stab you in space.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's dumb. So yeah, it's the Enterprise D, except it's got fins, like it's gonna go underwater, or maybe knives.
I feel like it was given to the Romulans, and they're like, "We'll upgrade it.
Yeah,
let's put wings on everything, even though it's space and wings don't matter."
Yeah.
It's that episode of The Simpsons, the grimy episode, when Homer comes out and he's built a model of the nuclear plant, but he's added wings to the I added wings to the side and this racing stripe I'm very proud of. And he's like, "Ooh, yes, winner, first place." And Grimes is like, "What? Idiot, go Homer." I took your Enterprise D and I added wings to it.
That was actually a pretty good impression.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting.
But yeah, also weird about this, Worf is very skinny.
His
like
neck
Riker
is like super skinny.
Like Riker is ripped compared to Worf.
Again, I'll dig them out. I have some of those early TNG comics from like 1989, 1990, where everyone's just like, everyone's got their dupliceps out. Just muscle groups where there is no muscle groups. Patrick Stewart was jacked. I did just pull this story up. Have you guys read the novel The Road from Cormac McCarthy?
Negative.
It's like it's one of those like big post-apocalyptic stories. But it's getting a graphic novel adaptation. And it actually looks pretty cool. So the artist is Manu Larcent or Larse. Yeah, but it's basically a father and son during the apocalypse is the story, and they're just trying to survive. But yeah, it looks like I'll post it in the show notes as well, so you guys can see what we're talking about. But I posted it in our chat so you guys can get a look at it right now. But it's all in black and white. I don't know, Chris, how would you describe that art?
So grungy comes to mind. It's like it's a very high contrast ink based. You're filling in a lot of the artwork, or a lot of what's going on in the scene yourself. I'm guessing it looks post-apocalyptic, right? It looks used up. It's a very limited color palette, because it looks like there are some color Photoshop stuff in here. It reminds me of the Lone Wolf and Cub mangas.
Oh, yes.
They must, and like you said, it's a father and son who are roaming through the wastelands and coming up with obstacles and stuff here. So I bet they're taking a big, whether they know it or not, they're taking a big inspiration from those manga.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I read the book a long time ago, so I would like to to read this, to pick this up when it comes out and do a nice review, a full review on it, because it's a heavy story,
Mm.
as most post-apocalyptic stuff is. That's not Zombieland. But yeah. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to hit? I know, Chris, you said that you had comics.
I do have some comics. Did you want to mention the Minecraft trailer? Did you watch
Oh,
it?
yes, that's what it was. Yes, I did watch it. All right, let's do this. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So Minecraft, the beloved Lego-like open world video game, beloved by millions of players and purchased by Microsoft, and used as an educational tool, has finally had a chance, is coming to the big screen. Had a teaser trailer. It was a teaser trailer, right? Like it wasn't a full
Mhm.
trailer, right? Come out, and to almost unanimous what the fuck from everyone who saw it. Starring Jason Momoa and Jack Black and a bunch of other people that I didn't recognize from the trailer. Um, so if you know Minecraft, obviously very blocky structure, and it's also Minecraft, such a beloved like property that there have been fan-made movies and short films made about it and using it to tell stories for years. Very brick film-ish, fans who would make stop motions with Legos. People used it to make music videos, to make long narrative stories with it. Some really cinematic things that they could do with that. And then what the people who actually have the license for it decided that they wanted to do was have real people in it, right? And so this just feels like, I don't know, what was your first responses to the trailer?
So my daughter right now is just real. She's like lately been really getting into Minecraft. Like that's all she does. She plays Minecraft. She watches the videos while she's playing and while she builds all this stuff. So she actually came up to me and she was watching the some other YouTubers breakdown of the trailer, and I was like, "Have you watched the trailer yet?" She's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, maybe you should watch the trailer first to see what's happening here." Um so she did that. So we watched that together, and I was just like, we've had some good comic book video game movies fairly recently, with the Sonic movies, the Mario Brother movies, and the Detective Pikachu movies. And I feel like this is going to be that giant step backwards from what we've been doing. Like we've been getting better and better and better at these video game movies. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is there's so much story to tell. And then, you have the TV shows like Last of Us, killing it. So good. And then there's this.
You get these like things
Yeah.
that feel like they're like early 2000s movies,
Right,
right? Where they were
right.
like, we bought this license, I don't know what it's about, whatever, just make up a story, And it's also, it feels like there's this, and this has happened so many times where they get the license to something and then they're like, a whole bunch of producers that never played it don't understand it, and this happens a lot in video games and lots of fandoms where they're like, they start to panic about it, right? Where they look at it and they're like, they look at the blocky characters and stuff, and they're like, nobody's going to watch a whole movie with a blocky character like that. You know what I mean? So they're like, they start adding stuff to it. They're like, no, make it more like a Pixar movie. No, just have we're paying Jack Black to be in this movie. He's going to be 4K every scene he's in. We're gonna see what we paid for with this character. And it happened similarly, something like that happened when the Transformers movies came out. I'm a huge fan of the masked characters, Optimus Prime, right? Where when they're talking, the mask just moves a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then what they decided to do, the Michael Bay movies, I'm 100% sure him or someone else in that movie was like, no, he can't emote if you can't see his face. So they put these two like metallic caterpillars on his face, to make him talk, right? And he looks so weird through those movies. And it comes down to not trusting the source material. The source material of this is loved by this generation of people who grew up with it. Like you said, sitting there, that was their whole entertainment, playing it while watching someone else play it, you know, with other people who were playing it across. My kids play it with their friends who are in Europe and stuff, you know. It's this great coming together of it, and boy, did they miss the mark. And so much harder than the people who seem to be. Maybe it'll be the best movie of the year, but this feels like Ugly Sonic all over again. But not in a way that's as easily fixed as the Ugly Sonic was. That would have been one movie if they would have kept him.
Right. And now we're getting a third one with Keanu Reeves. I didn't get to talk about it when you guys talked about it, but
that's true. We needed a fan there too, because I was like, you know, this trailer, I got a little bit of chills. I was like, I don't even really like Sonic, you know what I mean? But I was like, this looks really damn cool.
You take that back right now. You take it back right now. No, I'd say for the most part in Sonic fandom, there's usually a line. There's, you know, 2D pixel Sonic fans, and then there's like 3D, the like Sega Dreamcast and on Sonic fans. I am definitely, you know, fat little pixel Sonic eating chili dogs with no voice acting. He just runs fast, and that's all he does. And you get other cool characters that also run as fast as him or slightly less fast, and one of them can fly. Like, I love that. That's why when they had was it Sonic Generations on the Xbox 360 that kind of went back and forth from the 2D to the 3D or to the chase camera or whatever they want to call it. It was awesome. So the first two Sonic movies definitely feed into the 2D side scroll like Sonic fandom, because it's just Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic. Like that's it. And then Eggman. Shadow is definitely the later generation of Sonic fans. At one point they gave him a gun. So it's the same. They gave him a gun, and then they gave Sonic a human girlfriend, which was interesting. So this era of like the Sonic games, like I know of, but I'm not as familiar as the other ones. So I don't know all the Shadow the Hedgehog lore. I know of Shadow the Hedgehog, and he's in the games that I play now since they started redoing all those old retro ones like Sonic Mania, which is the best. If you haven't played it, just go play it. Especially if you're an old Sega Kid fan, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. But even I'm like, this is pretty awesome, because they're still able to put in the little bits of humor in there that has made it great. That Ben Schwartz is amazing at delivering those lines. But yeah, and then I remember them saying that Jim Carrey was done. He was done doing the Sonic movies. Yeah. I was like, yeah. And then they backed up a truck of money, and he said, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll hop back into the fat suit. Sure."
I think Sonic is the only thing that he's willing to do anymore. He's like, I'm retired from acting except for Sonic.
He's playing two characters.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm into it. He does like, it's been so long since we've seen Jim Carrey at an 11. You know what I mean? And so seeing Jim Carrey at an 11, I'm just like, man, there's all this time that we could have had this Jim Carrey. 20 years we haven't had this Jim Carrey. We've had deep, introspective artist Jim Carrey. And I'm like, yeah, but what about The Mask? How about another Ace Ventura movie? I mean, come on, man. Let's just give the people what they want.
Yeah. That trailer, the reason I liked it so much is because I was like, you know what? I would like take that trailer and substitute everything in it with the Flash. and
Mhm.
like Professor Zoom, you know what I mean? Like take everything else where you'd sit there and be like, okay, it's a Flash movie where he meets the negative version of him, and it's like, man, anybody who's working on a DC film right now, if you're working on the next Flash film, go to this one with a flashlight and your notepad. You know what I mean? Because I'm 100% sure you could get some ideas from this.
Is this kind of like the Iron Giant's the best Superman movie they've ever
Right.
made, and Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie they've ever made, and
Yes.
Sonic 3 is the best Flash movie they've ever made?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I watched most of the second, I came into it late because my wife was watching, but I watched most of the, uh, second one, and so I
Mhm.
actually gonna, like, go back and watch these ones for when this one comes out streaming.
Yeah.
Not gonna get me to the theater for this, but
They have a it's on Paramount Plus. It's a 6-episode Knuckles show.
Oh,
And
yeah, I haven't
Idris
watched
Elba,
that yet. Is
it
it?
is right on with the movies. Like they don't miss a beat. Remember when I was worried about Sonic 2? I was like, how are they
Mhm.
gonna keep, and then they just kept it going. It's just as good as the first one. This show slots right in there too, is just as good. It's Knuckles and Wade, the deputy. The kind of the goofball deputy that's Marston's like second in command there.
Mhm.
And he's going on like a bowling trip or something like that, and it's him and
Mhm.
Knuckles on a bowling trip and hijinks. It's great. um but yeah, I have a Transformers question for you now that you brought that up, and it hit in my head. So Transformers lore, I'm not very like versed in this. Did they, when they landed on Earth, or whatever, did they have to like see something to be able, like Optimus had to see a semi truck to turn himself into a semi truck when he's not being seen? Or, like Megatron had to see a tank before he could become a tank or a big gun or something like that? Is that how that works?
in the original
Depends.
cartoon, yes. So, but
Yeah.
you just stepped into, like, if you're talking about, like, a massive undertaking of understanding the lore, Lord of the Rings has nothing on Transformers. Nothing. You could sit there and read, and yeah, you think the Cimmerillion, you know what I mean? Like, knowing that
Mhm,
nuance of those things
mhm,
is like really deep lore of a fandom. There's
mhm,
nothing. So many comic books, so many video games and stuff like that. But if you're just talking G1 original
mhm,
comic
Yeah.
cartoon, when they crash landed on Earth, they were buried for, I think it was thousands of years,
Yeah.
and then
mhm,
reactivated, and there was like a drone that came out of the ship and went and was like, the robots were all kind of dead, and
mhm,
it went out to scan things as like a, well, I need to fix these things. So the first thing it ran across was a semi truck, and it was like, sure, bzz, scan that and I'll fix Optimus this way. And then he found a Volkswagen Bug and said, I'll fix Bumblebee this way.
mhm.
Very fortuitous for his name, like,
Right?
was his name like
It was Jim.
Bumbleston or so? Yeah.
It was Jim first, and then
Yeah.
they were like, "Hold up."
Hold it. Yeah, we found this cool thing and we're just changing your name. Now the thing is, that's how they fixed the Autobots. I don't remember what they did for the Decepticons. They weren't on the same
They
ship,
must
were
have been
they?
by a military base
No, they
because
weren't
it's
on the
all
same ship.
tanks and jets.
It was a different ship, but it was the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, they were
Okay.
in a different spot, so they got all the military stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I asked this, I watched the trailer for the Transformers 1,
Mm-hmm.
the animated one,
Mm-hmm.
and they're turning into
Yep.
trucks and tanks on Cybertron. I was like, how the
Yep.
fuck do they know what a truck is?
Yeah, they don't. I'm sure they'll
Okay.
explain it.
Okay, so it's not something that's like, oh, you didn't know that they had trucks
Yeah.
on Cybertron that
Yeah, no,
looked exactly like a
on
semi truck.
yeah, on Cybertron they were just normal, regular old robots.
Okay, okay, that was my question. You brought up the mask thing, and that's been sitting in my head this whole time. I'm just like, wait a minute, how the hell I know what a tank is? But kind of circling back around to Minecraft while Chris is assaulted.
I
Oh,
know.
okay.
I almost caught it when taking it off the shelf like 3 times. I bought this for my birthday for myself. But
Nice.
it's Sea Spray, my favorite
Mhm.
G1 guy, but they made like a newer one. And now I'm conflicted about whether I want to open it.
So my favorite Transformer was actually because I remember like I didn't watch too much of the older Transformer stuff, but I did watch Beast Wars.
Mm.
Mm.
The Manta
That's
Ray
my
one,
favorite.
the Manta Ray one that was only in the ocean, who was basically Transformers Aquaman, and he
Yeah.
was grumpy all the time. He'd be like, "It
Yeah.
doesn't affect the water," Wah! And he would just straight up leave. Um, I always liked that one because it was cool. He was a giant metal manta ray thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, but what I was saying, circling back to the Minecraft trailer,
Mm.
Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he was actually attached to direct a Minecraft movie for a long time, and he finally kind of came out and said something on this a Happy Sad Confused podcast. He came out and said, "I'm comfortable talking about it because fuck him at this point." um, and then this is what he said. He said, "I thought one of the greatest assets to Minecraft was that they didn't have a fixed narrative. It was an open world experience. All you were essentially given was the building blocks to do whatever you want." He said, "I thought what an amazing tool, much like Legos, except now you're talking about infinite possibilities because it's digital to give to kids, but maybe not just kids." But any person who feels powerless, kids mostly feel powerless all day long because they're being told what to do, how to dress. He said, "I felt bad, or I felt like that could extend to other people. I think everybody feels marginalized to an extent. Your boss telling you what to do all day long, your spouse, whatever. Uh, you just feel like you don't have a sense of agency over your life, and the game gave you that." And he said, "I thought that was a really profound experience," and he thought that he could try and harness that feeling for the movie, which is obviously not what they did.
Yeah, he would have been
Um,
perfect for doing that. If you ever watched his TV show Mythic Quest,
oh, love that show.
it's a great show, but it's about a bunch of developers making a video game. Like he really would have understood the you really should have treated the Minecraft movie like they did the Lego movie and like they did Barbie. You
Mhm,
you have to poke
mhm,
fun at it a little bit, right? But in a way that the people who are being it's with the people, not at the people who are fans of it, right? And yeah, all
Mm.
these things are properties, you know what I mean? It's commercials for those properties, but I always thought felt like the Lego one really in the story really focused on uh the relationship between the dad and the son in that movie.
Mhm.
mhm.
And the message in the Barbie movie, that's the sort of stuff. This is back to one of those things where the people who are making it don't understand why people love it.
Mhm. Um, I am trying to so last thing he said is he said he wanted to make a story about that involved people taking agency over their experience in a digital landscape. That was kind of his pitch to it. But you brought up Mythic Quest, and I believe I talked about this on the show years ago, but they have one of the best episodes of a TV show that I have ever seen. It's episode season 1, episode 5. It's called A Dark Quiet Death. And it's literally the story of the birth of a video game to the death of the video game, starting where these two people meet in a Blockbuster at, looking at Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and they create this game, and they put so much into it, and then it evolves into like, oh, we want to, and then the studio wants to put guns in the game, and they're like, well, that's not what this is about. And they're like, yeah, but it needs to be guns in the game to sell more games, so put guns in the game. And then you get the creative split between the couple, and then you get the divorce between the couple that made the game, and they turn it into a movie, and it is so good. You don't even need to watch any of the other episodes. Just if you get a subscription or a free trial to Apple Plus, Mythic Quest season 1, episode 5. I will sit and watch that anytime I pull up my Apple Plus. I'm tempted to just put that on and watch it again. It is so good. And it's got the main character in it is Jake Johnson from New Girl. He's one of the couple that makes it, and Kristen Milotti is the other girl. And yeah, it's so good. I could talk about that for hours.
It's a show that is way better than kind of it deserves to be, you know what I mean? Like it's and especially if you like video games.
Yes.
It is it's so good. And Ashley Birch
Yep.
is in it. And she was famous from a YouTube series called Hey Ash, What You Playing? And so it was cool to see someone from like a YouTube like who grew up with like the old YouTube being on a show like that too. It's really good. Watch the whole thing.
She's the voice actress and the character model for the video games Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's Ashley Birch.
Okay.
Yep. She made a career out of that.
Yeah.
But no, Rob McElhenney's hilarious in it. Like half of the episodes are written by Charlie Day or Katie McElhenney or Rob McElhenney. It's very Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like adjacent. But yeah, it's very good. And also it's like, I believe at least the first season was, co-produced with Ubisoft. So in the show, the game that they own, the MMO, is owned by Ubisoft. So they always keep having to say they got to call the French Canadians to get permission to do everything. And yeah, it's great. It's great. Watch it. But again, if you only get one that you can watch, episode 5, it doesn't have anything to do with any of the other episodes. It's just kind of right in the middle of the season, and it's beautiful. All right, Chris, you had some comics you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I can just do one. I'll save the others for next time. But I grabbed a copy of Archie the Decision.
Okay.
One shot. So this is by Tom King and Dan Parent. This was touted as Archie has been trying to decide between Betty and Veronica for 84 years. And this is the issue where he decides. He finally decides after all this time. And so that's I thought it was funny. It was a good take on it. That's my spoiler-free part of it. If you want to skip to the end of the show, the rest of this I'm going to give you the spoiler on here, because it's such a goofy, great like 1940s 50s idea for this story. I'm surprised nobody's done it before in an Archie comic. So what happens is that Archie and Jughead are hanging out, and every time Archie says something about the two ladies, Jughead's like, "I know how you feel," and he's looking at a picture of a hamburger, and it's like, I love that so much. It's my favorite thing. You know, Jughead loves cheeseburgers, but finally Archie goes, "I'm gonna decide," and he's like, "Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna flip a coin." And so he throws the coin into the air, but in classic like Looney Tunes, Pink Panther, old cartoon style, the coin falls out their window and starts rolling down the street. And so they chase it to see where it lands, and every person in Riverdale starts chasing it with them. So they go past the high school, and Miss Grundy comes with, and Mr. Weatherby comes with, and then they go past Sabrina's house, and Sabrina comes with, and every character you've ever known in all of Archie is running after this. The Josie and the Pussycats stop their concert because they're like, and Archie's like, "This is the dumbest idea I've ever had," you know? And then when people hear about it, they're like, "Oh, Archie's finally deciding." And they're like, "That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard." And then they're like, "Well, I gotta go see what happens." And so they go chasing him. And finally at the end of and then Betty and Veronica, they go past him, and they're like, there's a whole page of them talking to each other about how stupid this is. And then they chase after him too. And so at the very end of the comic, the coin falls on one side, and they're like, "All right, Archie, so what happened?" And he goes, "I didn't call it when I flipped it. I'm sorry." So it made a decision but it wasn't set up, and but it didn't make a finalized decision on this. So I mean, kudos. This was I was like, because I was like, oh, are they really gonna? Do they not understand what's important about the Archie comic? Is that he's never going to decide. That's the whole point of this. And so I was like, oh, is he going to decide it? No, he didn't actually decide it. So, but classic. I thought quite good. If you're an Archie fan, cool one to pick up. And there's a million variant covers for this one too, so you can pick up one of your favorite ones for it. And they tell you everything that's going to go on the cover. I didn't notice it. It's like an anime where they tell you everything that's going on in the intro cartoon. The coin is on there and everything. Is like, oh, I didn't, and I just read it. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even notice that was what was going to go on. In other news, they're still making Archie comics.
I was thinking you'd say that at the end he choose both and then end up in a throuple.
It's a poly, yeah. That's how they're gonna just, yeah. It's a polycule, and they invite Jughead because they know he's not interested, but he'll do the dishes and cook.
Yeah,
yeah.
We have the local Salt Lake City Thingeonix coming up. End of the 26th through the 28th. So if you're going to be there, I believe most of us will be there, and some of us have panels. So on Thursday at 12:30, from 12:30 to 1:30, in room 250E is an Echo. We will be doing a spotlight on Jack Kirby, the great Jack Kirby. And then on Friday, we will be doing a 50 Years of Wolverine panel, and that is in room 255B from 2:30 to 3:30. So if you are in the area, come say hi. We'll say hi. It will be fun. Make sure if
even
you
if
see
you're
Ryan
not in the area, come anyway.
Yes, if you see Ryan wandering around, you can scream your true feelings about X-Men, and he will respond appropriately. Just depending on what your views are. You might see him blush from his cheeks to the back of his neck. That is a full possibility. But yeah. And then Chris, what do you got? What do you got to plug?
So Monday nights, whatnot. If you come to Validi Studios, look up Chris Hoffman or Validi Studios. You can hang out with us while we are drawing commissions for people, custom covers. We hang out. There's actually a few comic creators, local comic book creators, indie comic book creators, because one of them's in Las Vegas actually, and we hang out for about 2 hours just drawing comics and doing commissions. It's super fun, talking the business of comics, talking about Comic-Con. Had some laughs about what we were doing at Comic-Con, but we're gonna also do we should have a place at a table. We don't know when it's going to be. There's going to be like an indie local comics and professionals comics spot that the Nerd Store is kind of sponsoring. And so we'll have times that we're there, but then also you're going to have the people from Evan from Wasatch Wonders and JC from Shaolin Nun, Mike from We Go Anywhere, us, and then also our good friend Travis Romney will have his own booth for the Mighty Utah, and I might be over there for a little while too, because I did a variant cover for his latest version of nice. Mighty Utah, who's Utah's Superman, who gets his superpowers from radioactive green jello.
It's awesome. Yeah. Oh, and next week, hopefully, I just started Star Wars Outlaws. I played about 15 minutes of it, so I can't give you any thoughts yet because I'm still trying to figure out how to play the game. But yeah, so next week, hopefully, I'll have some more time into that, so I can give you guys a better review of it. But so far, the 15 minutes I've enjoyed. So we will see. But yeah, so Ryan, did you have anything? Okay. Thanks for listening. You can find us, Validity Studios, nerddomepodcast.com, or not nerddomepodcast.com. That's on Spotify, Nerd Dome Podcast, podcasterwithoutfear.com, where you can find this and some comic reviews and other fun stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening, and that's all we got for you. So, Ryan,
Don't forget to subscribe.
you may now exit the dome.
Fuck responsibility.
And I could see the whole time.
Hail Hydra.
And Andrew never knows what to say here.
Bye, guys.